We all have likely experienced that time together with old friends or siblings reminiscing over past events, like sitting around the table and talking about something that happened to all of us. But someone brings up the incident and you think, I don't remember it that way. Or, what? That never happened. Has that ever happened in your discussions? You don't remember it the same way other people do. Then, as you talk about it some more, maybe you remember it in a different way. Our memories are like that. They change. The circumstance, the situation hasn't necessarily, but we see it in a new light. And it can be hugely healing. We all have our perspectives. Who we are is influenced by what DurandUMCommunity, I mentioned this before, describes as our formation field. Our perspective is shaped by our family of origin, place of residence, where we live in the country, in relationship to other states and cities. We're influenced by the time in history and the collective wisdom of our history, the chemicals slowly sloshing around our brains, and the overall health of our bodies give weight to how we welcome a new day. We're shaped by this, our relationships, where we work, what value our society gives to those things in our society now, and how that was impacted by the values that came before us and what we long to see. All this determines, and so much more, how I view an incident. It's not inert, it's not value-free, it's not pure. When we perceive something, we carry all of who we are with that. And that influences how we see a thing and remember it. At the same time, we possess varying degrees of openness and suggestibility. So some people hold firmly to, yes, this is the way I saw it. And other people will say, well, maybe, let me think about that. If I, say, experience the humiliation of forgetting my lines during a speech or trying to talk to small children, then you tell me that you were actually moved by what I said after that hitch. What I remember as being a knock on my credibility pole is now evidence of my discerning what really needed to be said. Nothing changed about my presentation. It still happened the way it did. But how I remember it is altered. And how I move and continue in what God is calling me to do. It makes a difference. When someone strikes you on your right cheek, feel the sting. It hurts. It's real. It happened. Breathe in the life-giving breath of the Spirit and notice, discern the situation. What is going on? Who are you? What is true about who you are? Take another breath. Stand up a bit straighter. Take a moment and present the other cheek. Perhaps the person will put out the right hand in apology. You never know. Even now, Jesus is teaching us, understand the context. Be present and know what he means by what he says. Read scripture, then listen to the wisdom of those who have gone before us, but not just the ones you agree with necessarily. Ask the Holy Spirit to give you discernment, because when you ask for wisdom, James tells us, God, the God of light, will give it generously and ungrudgingly. God wants us to have wisdom. Just ask. And then what do you experience? Instead of going away with the sting of somebody's slap, whatever that may be, you go away with maybe having reconciled that relationship. When someone strikes your right cheek, when an injustice has been done against you, how do you respond? When I am treated unfairly due to my gender, say, the opportunity for which is underscored by the very fact that women still are not constitutionally afforded equal rights. Our Constitution still does not afford equal rights to women. It's ratified by 36 states, and I think they need 38, and Illinois just did last year, ratified it last year. But we have been living under the assumption that we all have equal rights, right? Our Constitution still doesn't guarantee that. How do I turn the cheek at the other cheek when no matter how I respond to a challenge of my skill or education, credentials, and experience, it is one of damned if I do, damned if I don't. If I show emotion, it is perceived as feminine. Of course, she's a woman, she's gonna cry. Or maybe brash. I'm thinking of another word which rhymes with itchy. But it seems like there's either or, depending on how that often happens with women. And it's not just the experience of women, but I have experienced this many times in my life, and it's very frustrating. But it is also a very mild comparison in comparison to our brothers and sisters who live a reality of otherness, color of skin, mannerisms, any perceived handicap or weakness that makes misunderstanding extraordinarily easy. Beverly Daniel Tatum defines racism specifically as a system of oppression based on race. And so I love how she says it's systemic. It's not something that just kind of pops up, oh, I'm just going to treat somebody differently because they're of a different color skin or whatever. It's systemic. Jamar Tisby puts it more succinctly. Racism is prejudice with power. So it only means something if you hold power over another person and can treat them fairly or unfairly. It's uncomfortable for us to discuss prejudice, especially while members of the group who hold that power are challenged. Anthropologists now agree that there's only one race. There really isn't a distinction between races. That race is the human race. So to view another human being based on ethnic markers is more ludicrous than ever supposed. Still, when I perceive something about another person, my first inclination is to place value on it, right? I see you and I see your outer being, right? And I go, oh, what a beautiful necklace. But Anne, I want to know you more than just what you're wearing or your big, beautiful smile. I get an idea that you're probably a very nice person. Please don't slap me on my cheek. But I'll turn my other one. When I make a general assumption about those indicators, maybe it makes her more vulnerable because she has this beautiful smile, and maybe I can take advantage of that. Sometimes people think that way. I react to my spirit with a conditioned response. I might have something in my spirit that has a reaction, but if we take that just another moment and we consider that this person standing before me is created in the image of God. So at first, maybe we're afraid of that person, and then I take a moment and think, wow, he's made in the image of God.